Hi, welcome to this video looking at paper 1 question 1 for the GCSE English Language. This is looking for the Eduqas exam board. However, paper 1 question 1 is the same for all the exam boards. So AQA, Edexcel, OCR, doesn't matter. This video is applicable to you. So remember, in the fiction, it's an unseen text, meaning you won't have a clue what you're going to see. So we're looking at One Day by David Nichols. So question 1. It's going to be worth 5 marks for Eduqas. It might be 4 marks for AQA. You need to be spending 4 or 5 minutes on this question, and it's a search and find question. What I mean by that is it's testing your ability to identify implicit and explicit information. So it's a question where it's only worth 4 or 5 marks. You should only spend 4 or 5 minutes. It is a question that they use to introduce you to the exam. So it's the easiest question on the exam, and the question will just be finding information. So you're going to be asked to look for explicit points, so these obvious bits, and implicit points, subtle hidden meanings. So it might say, an explicit point, it might say in the text, the guy was cold or the man was cold. However, a more subtle hidden meaning would be he had to wear his coat as he slept. So this is making the reader work. The reader tried to read between the lines, but why is he wearing his coat in bed? Well, it's because he's cold. Okay, so this kind of question will look like this. List reasons, make a list, explain what you learn. Here's another example. Question 1, read lines 12 to 19 of the source. So you must take your information from this section, otherwise it will not be counted. So if you answer from before lines 12 or after line 19, you will get a big fat 0 for that. So list 4 parts about the baby. So your points must be about the baby and nothing else. So for example, if the text or the extract was about a family, about a mum, a dad, a brother and a baby, if you mention the mother, you're not going to get a part for that, and you should write in sentences, but I'll talk about that more in a second. So tips for this exam: use whole sentences but keep them brief. Don't copy whole chunks and sentences. Make 5 points. So if it's a 5-mark question, try to make 5 points. If it's a 4-mark point, try to make 4 points. However, what I would do is I would probably try to get 1 more. So if it's worth a 5-point question, if you have 5 marks, try to write down 6 things, just in case you get 1 wrong, you've got that 1 in the bank. So a few tips for this exam question, question 1. Tip number 1, read each question twice before you read the specific lines from the extract, just so you know you got the hang of the question, you know what it's asking from you. Tip number 2, mark or circle in the exam paper the selection you're answering, e.g. lines 1 to 12. So I've done a little square, my highlight here, just to tell me that question 1 is only from this part of the text that I've put on the square. So I can tell myself all the answers are in this little square. Tip number 3, use the highlighter with the question in mind. Pick out key evidence that will help you. So don't highlight loads, but you can just see here my yellow highlighter. I've just highlighted a few things that I think are going to help me answer my question, but we don't want to highlight everything. So be specific, only highlight relevant words or phrases. Too much will make it difficult for you to work out which quote you're going to use. So if you look at the yellow highlighter, if you can see it here, this person's almost highlighted everything, so I've got no idea here where I'm going to pick out the information. This is a common mistake that students make. So in summary, read each question twice, mark or circle the lines that you're going to use, highlight key evidence but don't highlight loads and loads. Many of my students failed to gain full marks because they simply didn't read the question. Students need to answer in a simple sentence type answer. So for example, list 4 things from the text about the man's physical appearance. An answer that would get a mark and would be accepted, would be correct, is he had wild eyes. However, what a lot of students do is they write something like this: wild eyes. Although that we can sort of understand what the student is saying, it's not clear. Okay, so you're not going to get a mark. It would not be accepted. So a thing to remember is each answer must make sense on its own, i.e. it must be a simple sentence. So does he had wild eyes make sense on its own? Yes. Just as randomly putting wild eyes a sentence? No, doesn't make sense. It's not clear. You're not going to get a mark. You need to make it very obvious what your answer is. Again, one way of doing this is if the question is about the man, use the man in every bullet point. So you could have the man had wild eyes, the man had red hair, the man had freckles, yeah? Or use he had freckles, he had wild eyes. Using he or the man or pronouns is going to help you make your answer clear. Okay, so like I said, we were looking at One Day was turned into a film with Anne Hathaway. We're looking at an extract from there. So here's the extract. Emma Morley eats well and drinks in moderation. These days she gets 8 good hours sleep, then wakes promptly of her own accord at just before 6:30 and drinks a large glass of water, the first 250 ml of a daily 1.5 litres, which she pours from the brand new carafe, a matching glass that stands in a shaft of fresh morning sunlight next to her warm, clean double bed. A carafe. She owns a carafe. She can hardly believe it's true. She owns furniture too. At 27 she is too old to live like a student anymore, and now she owns a bed, a large wrought iron and wicker work affair bought in the summer sales from colonial themed store on Tottenham Court Road. Branded the Tahiti, it occupies the whole bedroom of her flat on the Earls Court Road. The duvet is goose down, the sheets are of Egyptian cotton, which is, the saleswoman informed her, the very best cotton known to man, and all of this signifies a new era of order, independence and maturity. So feel free if you want to pause that and read that yourself. And the question is, list 5 details you learn about Emma Morley's lifestyle. Okay, so again, if you want to read that yourself, again, it's bigger here, pause the video. So again, the question is, list 5 details you learn about Emma Morley's lifestyle. So if you want to do this yourself, write it down, pause the video. So again, teacher tips, read the question twice. Okay, you don't have to do it in this example, but if you had the whole page, mark or circle the exam paper, highlight key evidence but don't highlight everything, and answer in short and simple sentences. Okay, again, pause if you want. So the answers would be, she eats well, or Emma Morley eats well. Emma drinks in moderation. She gets 8 good hours sleep. She wakes of her own accord at just before 6:30. She starts a day with a 250 ml glass of water. She drinks 1.5 litres of water daily. She owns furniture such as a large wrought iron bed. She's too old to live like a student. She experienced a new era of order, independence and maturity. So you only needed 5. There was actually 9 possible answers that you could have had from the examiner. All of these start with she or start with Emma. Remember, I need that sentence. I've also put the text, the quotes embedded. You wouldn't need to do that. You don't have to do the speech marks, the quote marks if you don't want to. However, it makes it nice and clear that you're using the text. Okay, so to prove on this question, what I would do and telling my students to do is get loads of exam papers, but time yourself 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes to answer this question. You're only going to get 4 or 5 marks. We can't waste 10 or 15 minutes on it, so really be strict with yourself with the timing. That's it for this video, looking at question 1, paper 1. Any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section.